Dolores Cannon on the source and the soul. Cathar Love 140. One of the things that I go by when evaluating someone on YouTube or reading the newspaper or whatever, as regards when they talk about God, I listen to them, and if they refer to God as the source, then my ears prick up and I'll continue. But if they talk about, when they're talking about God, it's a personal God, a God in our own image, a human image, then I switch off. Another thing is that what I talk about as regards Gnostic Catharism, as regards the source, which is an unknown God, but the one thing we do know is that it's a deity, a light, it's total love, total goodness. And its love for each and all of us is unconditional, for everybody and everything, everywhere. This is what we do know. So there's no conditions upon it, whether you're a good boy, a bad girl, or whatever. Salvation, damnation, day of judgment, all that stuff that flies out the window. The other thing is that years ago I used to do a lot of past life regression, large groups, up to 85, some of them. Then I didn't use hypnosis, I used meditation. In smaller groups I used to use hypnosis. But there's a woman, Dolores Cannon, she died, she was 81 years old, she died about 4 years ago. And she's got quite a lot on YouTube. Her sessions have been recorded. And I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen quite a number. When I say half of it, probably 3 or 4. And in it, I haven't heard her mention the Cathars, I haven't heard her mention Gnosticism, which is good, because she talks about the soul, she talks about the source, she talks about extraterrestrials, and her source of information, because her husband was a Vietnam veteran, and when he came back they were quite good hypnotists, and they went into past lives, and so she did that for some 35 years, and she worked out a very good system of taking people down into a super subconscious, where she could often talk to that person's guide. So her information came from this area of expertise. But what she says about the soul, the fact was a divine spark, a spark of the divine. What she talks about, a source, that it's love, pure love, and the people who are under past life regression, and when they refer to God, she says they also always refer to God as the source. And so I'm letting her talk for herself, but I'm just explaining where I'm coming from. Another one is the books that I've mentioned before, Destiny of Souls, Journey of Souls by Wayne Martin. He's also into past life regressions. I don't know if these people have met each other, but all the people that he's brought under over some period of 15 years or more, they again they refuse to talk about God, but if they do, they refer to it as a source, because they say if we say God, then people automatically think it's something like us in human form, whereas it's unknown, but it's an all-loving power. So this is my brief introduction, but it's to show you from different areas of expertise that people who are under past life regression or channeling, in my case I've got it it's written down in the dialogues and the Cathar Codex, which many of you have read, and it's coming from channeled from Henri de Boers. But the thing is, they don't contradict each other. And the reason why they don't contradict each other, it's nothing to do with specifically Catharism or Gnosticism. It's because this is universal. So it doesn't matter whether you're one of our extraterrestrial brothers or whoever it is. It's over and above religion. It's a universal brotherhood based on love, unconditional love, and also based on reality, actuality, rather than books that were written thousands of years ago, and people have turned a lot of these stories into, they've just blown them up as things do, as things happen. So with that introduction, I'd like you to, if you wish to, listen to Dolores Cannon. The videos, I've just got excerpts from her talking about these things, but some of them are quite some time ago. She's a lot younger, and then there's another one that she's a little bit older, and there's one that's not that long before she died. So when she talks about these things, and I'll just let her get on with it, and I'll turn you over to her.
When I've done my sessions, people go back to the source. They go back to where they began, and they said the love is beyond description. They don't want to leave once they are back there. It is so incredible. But all of us started with the source. When you take us back to what we really are, we are just a tiny spark. We are a tiny spark that started with God. We were sent out and told, go out and experience and learn. Learn everything there is to learn, and then bring it back. This is how God learns. He wants to learn. He wants all of us to experience. That's why there is no good, there is no bad. It's only experiences, it's only lessons. We bring them back to the source. You connect with God, you connect with the source, you connect with your guides, your guardian angels. They want to help you. They really love you, and they want to be with you and help you. You just have to learn to identify with it and recognize they're there, and miracles will happen. Your entire life can turn around. Sounds easy. Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. It depends on how difficult you make it. But it's all there, and it's free for everyone.
And now she's a little older, and let's see what she has to say on this occasion.
These past lives. Some of these people have gone back to when the world was being created. I've had them be part of when the universes were being created. You've all done that. You've all been co-creators. You imagine the power you have, and you don't even realize it. You were here. You were able to do those things. It means you can do them again once you understand that. I've had them go back to where the oceans were being created, and they were part of all of that. And I've also had them there when the volcanoes were erupting, and life couldn't form on Earth yet because the atmosphere was too full of ammonium. So they had to wait till it cooled down enough that life could form. They said this was all done by what they call the archaic ones, the ancient ones. And this means they've been around forever. They said in the very beginning, the archaic ones did it because that was how they were formed. And as they went out into space and began to travel, their job was to create life on any planet that was suitable to have life. And people always say, well, how does God fit into this picture? This is a way of putting the evolutionist theory and the creationist theory together, because God is very much involved in the picture. They call him the source of everything, and that's where we all began. Every one of us started with the source, including the ETs. They are closer to God, if you want to call him that, than we will ever be, because they've been following his instructions since the beginning, but also they depend on him for their very life. They don't consume food the way we do. They absorb light through their bodies. And we're eventually getting to that point. We're all progressing in that direction. They absorb light through the skin. And I said, well, where does the light come from? It comes from the source. So they are closer to him than we will ever be. And they have been receiving instructions since the beginning of time. You go here, you go there, this is what they do. Many of them never go back to their home planets. Many of them don't even have a home planet to go back to, because it's been destroyed. So this is their job, to just go from place to place, checking on these things. Can you imagine how many eons of time this would take as you had to go and keep progressing and checking all of this? Because it would be thousands and thousands of years on each part of all of this. So when the Earth finally cooled down enough to support life, they said, go to Earth and introduce life on a cellular stage. And they never know what the life is going to look like. The important thing is to get life started. Start it with a single cell organism, and then it will multiply. To get life of some kind going, they don't care what it forms into as long as it is life and begins to grow. First it'll be plants, then animals. It takes a long time. I'm probably going to have to condense this down some because there's a great deal of information to cover. But they go back from time to time to check on it and see, is this growing? Are they turning into multi-celled organisms? I've had people go back to past lives when they were the seeders, the ones who were doing the planting of these cells. And other ones go back to where they were the recorders, who would check and see how are things going? How are the plants developing? How is everything moving along? I think if you look at these this way, you'll see the ETs are not at all what you think they are. They've been very involved with us since the very beginning. But as you gradually progressed, they said you have no idea how fragile life is, because they would go back sometimes and they would find something, a multi-celled organism had begun, and then they would check on it again and it had fallen apart and the planet was lifeless again. Then there was a lot of great sadness about it, because they said life is so fragile, it has to be cared for, it has to be nurtured to get it to grow. So this is why they've been so involved with us, because they really care about us and it is their job.
This is her final session. I hope you've enjoyed it so far, but it's interesting that there's nothing that Dolores Cannon has said that contradicts Destiny of Souls, Journey of Souls, those books, the Cathar Dialogues and the Cathar Codex. And it is interesting to have another person's viewpoint, and yet people who are also, as she calls herself, a researcher, and she's really out to find the truth, not so much the truth, the actuality of things as they really are. So, for the final session.
The history of your soul. Okay. This is all information that I've accumulated over many, many years. Many times in my work, I will get a piece of information from one client. And a week later, maybe on the other side of the world, we get a piece of information from another client that will hook it together. They say, we've got some more information for you, and it will flesh out the whole theory or concept. So it doesn't come through just one person. It comes through many, many different people My job as a researcher, the reporter, investigator, is to put it all together like a gigantic puzzle. So part of it has been put together in the book Between Death and Life, and in other books we have more pieces of it. Okay, but I have people coming up and to meet my clients saying, "What's my home planet? Where am I from?" You don't have a home planet. You may have lived on another planet, but you don't have any planet that you come from. And that's what some of them don't understand. They want me to process that out. I always know what they're going to say anyway. But you do not have a home planet. You may have lived on other planets. All of you have. You've lived hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes. Every shape, form you could possibly imagine, and some you cannot imagine. Because every life has a different lesson and experience it's trying to show you. So you have had lives before you came to Earth on other planets, other dimensions. You've learned a lot of valuable information, but that's not who you are. You began long, long before that. After you complete your Earth school, then you may decide, I want to go to another planet and try the school there. So you're not done even when you finish Earth. That's what's so funny. This is nothing but a school. That's all it is. You don't get out till you graduate. You fail a grade, you're going to take that grade over again. People would just get that through their head. Yes, I tell them, you're going to have to come back and do it again. I don't want to do that. Well, I said, you better work it out now. Or you have to. It's the law of karma. You're all on the wheel of karma. But no, you did not come from any certain planet or any certain dimension. We all began at the same time with God. They always called him the source. Everything began with the source, with God. I've had so many people go back to God that we know what he is and what he looks like. And it's tremendous. They always see it as a huge bright light, a huge energy source. And they said when they're in it, it's like being in the sun, but it's not hot. But when they're back with God, it is just total love. You have never felt anything like that in your life. It's total love that you cannot even describe. It is so beautiful and wonderful. I had one woman who went back there, and she said she would like to go back home. They always say, when you go there, they say, I'm home, I'm home. She wanted to see what it was like, so she got it. And afterwards, she was crying and crying because it was so beautiful. Once they see it, they don't want to leave. It is so extremely beautiful and full of love. And afterwards, the SC is what I call it. The subconscious part is the one that communicates and talks to us. I call it the subconscious, even though it's not like the subconscious that the psychiatrist defined. That's a childish part of your mind. But I didn't know what to call it, so I called it the subconscious. They said, we don't care what you call us. We don't have a name anyway. We'll work with you. But we wanted to know why it showed her that. And they said she wanted to see it, but we just gave her a taste of it. If we showed her what it was really like, she would not want to come back into this body. That's how tremendous it is. Total love. And when they're there, they don't want to leave. Everybody is together. And that's where we all started. We were all one with God. A huge energy mass. But God became curious. He wanted to know more. So the way he did this, he burst out. Now, some people call it the Big Bang Theory. he burst out into millions and millions of pieces, little tiny dots of light. Some of these dots of light became galaxies, some of them became planets, some of them became universes, but the majority were your own individual little souls. When I take people back to what they really, really are, all they see is a tiny little speck of light. That's what you really are. That's your soul. It's a tiny speck of light. They shot out in all directions. And God said, "Go, my children, and learn. Learn everything there is to learn. Have every experience there is to have. Then bring it back to me." And I asked them one time, well, what does God do with all this information once we bring it back? He creates other universes. He creates more. It seems to be the main thing is to gather information and then to bring it back to God. Everything we do, everything you say, everything you see is like in a gigantic computer. And it's all adding information to the source. You go back, it's all dumped into this gigantic computer. Does this make sense? Because sometimes people think this is kind of a out-of-the-way explanation for it, but to me it makes perfect sense of how you all began. But God is total love. And that's where you all began. Started on your journeys. You all went different directions. Some people went to other planets. Some people went to other dimensions. Some people decided to take on Earth School, which you are right now. Your soul decided to do Earth School. Earth is the most difficult planet in the universe. The hardest, densest, heaviest planet to live on. I really don't like it when I say this, but they say we're the bottom feeders. That's how dense the energy is here. The bottom of the barrel. She said, I don't like you to say that. But they say if you decide you're going to go to Earth, they're very proud of you. Because they know what you're going to take on. They know how difficult it's going to be. It's not going to be an easy task. And they always say, are you really sure you want to do this? And he says, yeah, I think I'm going to take on the Earth School. It sounds like it'd be interesting. But it's the most difficult you could possibly ever take on. But you decided you wanted to do it. Life is all about experiences and lessons. That's all it is. Many people everybody has bad things that happen in their life. But what did you learn from it? If you learned one thing, that was the reason for you having that lifetime and that lesson. That's all it was for, was that one little thing. But some people, my clients, will say, well, I didn't learn anything, it was just a horrible experience. Then guess what? You got to do it again. You didn't learn anything, you got to do it again. Same people, same situations. That's the law of karma. You don't get out of anything. You don't learn it, you take it a class again. So, you all decided you want to take on Earth School. Believe me, they're trying to talk you out of it on the other side. Do you realize what you're signing on for? It's going to be so hard. And they said, yeah, I want to do it, I want to do it. We said, all right, we will be there to help you, but it's not going to be easy. Because the Earth School is a long school. Once you sign on for it, you don't get out until you have completed the whole school of going to college. You don't get out of it. You can take the same. They said, we don't care how many times you want to take that class over. Doesn't matter to us, but you want to take the same experience for eternity? Or when are you going to get it? When are you going to learn it? It's up to you. Otherwise, you can just keep spinning around and around doing the same thing over and over again. Doesn't matter to them. You have eternity to learn even just one lesson. But do you want to take eternity? Or do you want to learn it and move on when you can get out of it? Because when you get out of it, then you go back to God, or you go to another planet to learn their lessons. Every planet has different lessons, different rules and regulations. Earth is very, very unique. There are many things about Earth that are nowhere else in the universe. That's what makes us very different. But when you sign on for the Earth School, it's a long school. You don't just sign on to become a human. That's the last thing you do. You have a lot of other lifetimes you have to experience before you become human.
Well, I hope you enjoyed Dolores Cannon. She's on YouTube. She's quite a few. She has quite a few people who have followed her. She's travelled around the world giving talks and lectures. But I do feel that it's, I think everybody, it doesn't matter whether you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, or you're a Jew, or wherever you come from, everybody's out to validate their own beliefs, to give proof, to show that what I believe in, these other people believe in the same thing too. So I can't say I'm any different, and I also enjoy it, and I feel great when I hear somebody coming from a totally different area, and Dolores Cannon, as I've said, I've never heard her mention Gnosticism or Catharism, and yet what she's saying is still stuff or aspects that I put out regarding Gnostic Catharism. But the fact is that it's a universal brotherhood. It's getting above religion. It doesn't matter for some other cosmological area, some other planet, these are universal. These are universal laws, and it's for everybody. So I hope you enjoyed Dolores, and talk to you again soon. Bye.